Siblings is the 9th episode of the first season of The Middle. This is directed by Barnet Kellman, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. I'm going to go through this one chronologically. Sometimes I don't, but with this one, it seems to make the most sense. And it starts off with Frankie being late to an event and being roped into making and delivering some wreaths. And while she's there, she sees Sean Donahue interacting really positively with his younger siblings, and it makes her question why Brick, Sue, and Axel don't act like they love each other. And we have a fun montage of clips. My favourite one is where Axel is copying everything Sue says, trying to wind her up. But then Brick starts to copy everything Axel says, which really torments him. I found that to be very, very funny. We then go down to the quarry, where Aunt Edie is helping Mike with the books. And apparently this is something she's done quite frequently, but she's starting to show signs of not being fully able to really do it very well. And Mike doesn't really know how to handle the situation. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Frankie is then laying the dining room table. The kids start to wonder what on earth is going on because they usually eat in front of the television. And they end up having to get an extra chair from Brick, kind of highlighting the fact that they really haven't eaten at the dinner table in a long time. Frankie tries to encourage them to say things that they've enjoyed that day, things they've liked about their day, and to say nice things about each other. And I feel like this is probably a situation a lot of families find themselves in at some point, because I feel like sitting in front of the TV to eat dinner is the typical way that families spend their evening. And I feel like everybody at some point will have that thought of maybe we should do better. And honestly, I feel like sitting watching the TV together is a perfectly nice way to bond. I say that as somebody who watches a lot of films and television, fair enough. And Mike then suggests, when Frankie's plans don't exactly work, that they go outside and play touch football, which I think sounds like a terrible idea. But nevertheless, they go outside and it's not working, so Frankie suggests kids versus adults. And I very much laughed when they were trying to come up with a strategy and Axel pointed out, Mom can't run too fast or she'll pee. It's funny because it's true. And they end up having a great time and they really thoroughly enjoyed it. However, I think I was reading too much into this. And I'll talk more about this as the episode progresses. But I think the kids had a tactic. But I don't know if I'm overthinking it. But I'll talk more about that in a little bit. We then go back down to the quarry. And the staff at the quarry want to talk to Mike about their bonus checks. And I think it's fair to say that everybody, absolutely myself included, would have assumed at that point that Aunt Edie had underpaid them or given them, a bonus check for $1, which would be really insulting. No, they start giving this speech about how generous Mike is. And very clearly, we can learn there that Aunt Edie has been very generous with the bonus checks and overpaid them. We then cut back to the house. The kids want to play touch football again. And this happens a few times, and I'll talk more about it as we get there. But I thought that the kids realised they could turn things to their advantage and really torment Frankie and Mike by saying, yeah, we love spending time together as siblings. Let's do this every single night. But I thought they were playing Mike and Frankie to prove that actually this isn't something they should be doing. And that never really came into fruition. I actually genuinely feel like maybe they did enjoy doing this, and it just kind of backfired a little bit on Mike and Frankie. So I'd love to know what you think of this. Were Axel, Brick and Sue constantly asking to play this because they genuinely enjoyed it, or because they kind of wanted to break their parents and stop them forcing them to spend time together? I genuinely don't know what the right answer would be, or if it is indeed open to interpretation. Mike then tries to fire Aunt Edie. He initially tries to do this by encouraging her to retire. It doesn't work, so he fires her, and she seems to understand perfectly well that that's what he's done. And then she just carries on working, and I love that. I love that sense of in denial. If I don't leave, I'm not fired. And then he ultimately manages to distract her with a jigsaw puzzle. And then we have the kids playing. Again, Mike fakes an injury, and it's just up to Frankie to play, which seems unfair. Kids against Frankie isn't very fair. And they do end up bonding genuinely because Frankie has had enough, and she decides to just throw the ball down and walk away, but unfortunately, because it's an American football, it lands on its end, I don't know what that's called, and thwacks her in the face, and she rolls on the floor, and the kids find this very, very funny. And I thought it was a pretty nice way to conclude that part of the episode. I still don't know if they genuinely enjoyed what they were doing, or if they were just trying to break Mike and Frankie to stop them from forcing them to spend time together. But either way, whatever it was, I really enjoyed this, and I feel like it's probably very relatable for a lot of families, which of course is one of the great things about the middle, and I rather enjoyed this a lot. Siblings is a brilliant episode, and needless to say, an episode that I really thoroughly enjoyed.